Hi, how are you today? The improved package has arrived. We're having it fitted in time for FP1. Have a look at the factory report.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here. Welcome back to my F1 2016 career mode, part number 2 here today from the Bahrain Grand Prix. As you could hear there by my R&D engineer, the new part has been fitted. If you missed the last episode, episode number 1, do go check that out at the Australian Grand Prix. Uploaded it earlier today, but you could see in that episode we spent the money, our R&D points, on chassis weight reduction. That's been now installed for this race. Mclaren able to turn around an upgrade after one race. So, showing that, we've got the pedigree of a top team, able to turn around upgrades faster than the teams around us on pace, like Force India or Haas. So hopefully we can just continue like this, maybe bring one upgrade per race, perhaps. I mean, we'll have to see as we go further on down the upgrade part. It's going to get a lot more expensive. But let's move on to the story of practice here at Bahrain. Obviously, a very different sight actually here, because we've never seen Bahrain in the sun for a while now in practice. Obviously, we've never been able to get the different times of day of a race weekend for the first time. So for the first time, we were able to do practice, or FP1 at least, in the full daylight here at Bahrain. And so we did the track acclimatization, which was the standard thing you have to do in practice now. If you're unfamiliar with it, you have track acclimatization, a tyre wear test, and a qualifying pace test, and just generally a few team objectives here and there. So once again, I was able to get the perfect score on track acclimatization. It looks like, from what you guys have also tweeted me, it looks like Cody's have tweaked it a little bit and made it a little bit easier than what we played back in March. But I can say that the tyre wear test and the qualifying pace test, at least for me, they seem like they've made it a little bit harder than what we played. So I'm a little bit unhappy with how unrealistic some of the times are for the tyre wear test and the qualifying pace test. I mean, it might just be me getting used to the car, but I've also spoken to other content creators and they agree with me that it is a little bit too high for the kind of what pace you can actually get out of the car straight away at the beginning of the season. But after practice, we got the 432 points. You can see there, this is how I struggled in qualifying pace test. We actually failed the program test in practice, which is really unfortunate for us, but we still got a good amount. 432 points, I think, is a really decent amount after FP1 and FP2, and we still had FP3 to go. And after FP2, I decided to spend my R&D points on another upgrade, which was the drag reduction. So barge boards, new barge boards that will reduce the drag. Obviously, in the McLaren, obviously we're down on power, so reducing the drag will only help us in the straight line. In Australia, we saw it. We didn't really have the straight line to match the likes of Ferrari or Red Bull. So hopefully, just if we continue on to kind of make these little adjustments, we can kind of continue to maybe slap on more higher wings and more downforce and not have such a detriment to our qualifying. So speaking of qualifying, we're actually going to present qualifying as it actually happened, because it was a very interesting qualifying, because I was really struggling in practice. As I mentioned, I failed the qualifying pace test, and the car, I'm not going to lie, felt like an absolute dog in practice. I just didn't have any balance of the car. Going into qualifying, though, I changed a few things around. What I did was I put the weight distribution up to about 9, so that sets it to the rear of the car. That means the front end is a lot more kind of, it's less likely to lift up under acceleration and less likely to nosedive under braking. That gave me the balance back, because what was happening was I wasn't getting any kind of turn-in or real proper response on the front end. So reducing the weight distribution to the rear end kind of helps that car to kind of stop nosediving under braking and also lifting up when you accelerate. And also put the wings up to, you won't believe this, 11.9. Really high wings. Not going to help us out in the race, perhaps, with the straight line speed, but I really needed the downforce here. The McLaren, I'm not too sure about other cars, but the McLaren really needed the downforce here at Bahrain. It wasn't really working well with lower wings through these corners, especially this corner here, the left-hander. Very tricky in practice. We're able to nail it in this Q1 lap on Super Soft, and the hope is that I could get out of Q1. I was genuinely worried about not making it out of Q1 for this. So that's why I've included the qualifying in this format this time. You would have seen, if you saw part 1, I did a qualifying report. So let me know what you guys prefer, and maybe if you want me to do it basically like this. If there's maybe not an interesting qualifying, if it's basically a bog standard qualifying, getting through the sessions, if there's no worries for me, then I'll probably do the qualifying report to kind of get you a rundown of the order. And then if there is an issue in qualifying, if I'm not feeling like if I'm not up to pace and I need to really work hard at qualifying, then I might include it like this, because I think it's worth showing you qualifying like this for a race like this, because I really did have to push quite hard. And then interestingly enough, on Q2, I decided to make a very bold move and go onto soft tyres. Now you remember Vettel and Ricciardo both set their time on soft tyres in Australia, and I thought I could try and do the same thing and cheekily get into Q3 and start my race on the soft tyres. So that's what we've tried here. and thankfully, we're actually able to do it. I don't know what happened. I mean, I felt like it was a pretty awesome lap, but I don't know what happened. Maybe the conditions, the setup definitely did help as well, but maybe the conditions kicked in, and I was able to drag that car up into what was 5th place there, you could see on the soft tyre. So that was really awesome. Then we moved on to Q3, and then obviously you get a set of 3 super soft tyres. So we just tried our best to get up as far as we could up the grid. Obviously, we're going to hand those tyres back, so it doesn't worry about the tyre wear on those sets. We can just kind of hammer them as much as we want. And so by the end of the session, we rounded out in P8. So that's where we'll start for the grid. You can see it just ahead of Carlos Sainz and Danica Fiat. So ahead of two Toro Rossos, who are ahead of us in terms of the actual running order of the car performance and the constructors. So I'm pretty happy to qualify ahead of those two, just behind the Williams of Valtteri Bottas. So pretty okay qualifying in Q3, but I'm really happy about how Q2 works. And also, in hindsight, actually, I should probably be a lot more happier, because in practice, I was nowhere. I was literally down in 20 seconds. I think the best position I got in FP3 was 18th place, so I really had to pull it out of the bag, and I was so happy I finally figured out this setup in terms of getting the balance of the Mclaren in around Bahrain. It was the weight distribution that really kicked in for me, so really happy about that, and it sets us up for a great race, hopefully, on the soft tyres starting on that. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are. Let's go to the race for the Bahrain Grand Prix. So taking a look at the strategy ahead of the formation lap, you can see we've got 2 soft tyres on either side of a medium tyre, so a 2-stop strategy today, and it looks like that's going to be the best option for us, because of course we're starting on the soft tyre because we qualified that in Q2, and that's the new rule in Formula 1. You start on the tyre you did your best time in Q2 if you got into Q3. We did get into Q3 on soft tyres, so we're going to start like this, just like Ricciardo and Vettel did in Australia. And obviously in Australia, us starting on the softest tyre, the super soft there, hindered us quite a bit, so I'm hoping that this opens up a better strategy for us, because the super softs really wear out quite fast here around Bahrain, so I'm hoping that this will work out quite a treat for us today. If we look at the resource points we got after qualifying, of course we spent the tokens on that brand new barge board, reducing the drag for next race. We'll see that upgrade hopefully, but these are the points we got after qualifying as well, so we did a pretty good job. So we got quite a lot of points there in the resource department, so hopefully after this race we'll get a few more, and then, you know, after we've done practice for what will be the 3rd round, then hopefully we can get onto another upgrade, which would be really good, just to keep on bringing upgrades. And this is how the rivalry is shaping up at the moment. We're nearly filled up the entire bar on Jensen Button, and in terms of how the team are feeling about us, we're on 6 at the moment, so that's pretty good. Probably going to maybe get it into purple, hopefully, I hope, by the end of this race, but looking pretty solid at the moment. Our team are liking what we're doing, especially in qualifying. I'm pretty sure they're going to be very happy with us qualifying on soft tyres into Q3. But it's time to put that strategy to the test as we go to 5 red lights for the 2nd round of the season, the Bahrain Grand Prix. Dump the clutch at 5 red lights, and we're underway. A bit of a slower start because we're on the soft tyre, not the super soft, but we get an okay start on Bottas, and Vettel's bogged down there on the left-hand side. Raikkonen up ahead, darting around on the right-hand side, down the inside of the 2 Red Bulls. I'm going to go down the inside of Verstappen as we lock up side by side, but Verstappen gets the move around the outside. But either way, we're up into 6th place with John Vettel and Bottas into turn 1. A great turn 1 for us. And now we're on the back of Max Verstappen, slipstreaming the Red Bull car. Can we make a move down the inside? We're going to go for it. We have to. We have to try and make as many places we can on lap 1, because we're just going to fall back otherwise. We're up into P5 at the moment as Verstappen has huge issues. I think he might have an issue there because he's gone down 5 places. But Vettel is now behind us. We cut later on into lap 1. Vettel now goes down our inside on the super soft tyres. Going to have to try our best to hang it around the outside, and we'll just about do that. Still going side by side through the left-hander, but we'll just about squeeze Vettel out through the apex on the right-hander, and we've got it up into 5th place. Raikkonen at the moment ahead of us in 4th there, and I think Lewis Hamilton leads the way from Rosberg, then Daniel Ricciardo, there you go, on the left-hand side of your screen. But Vettel now closing up once more with the slipstream, just showing the Ferrari pace compared to the Honda engine we've got in the back of this McLaren, but we hang it around the outside. As you can see, the lovely sunset there there on the left-hand side as we close towards the night sky of Bahrain, and we'll get the floodlights underway as we move later on into the Grand Prix. Lap 3 now. Grosjean, interestingly enough, is now ahead of Vettel, so Vettel struggling maybe for some pace. Maybe he's got an issue with his engine or ERS, but Grosjean goes right past me with DRS. Vettel tries the same, but this time we're not going to have it. We're not going to lose 2 places in 1 corner, so we go round the outside of Vettel and get the place back. So probably frustrating the German quite a lot, and I don't know what it is about career modes and me and Vettel, but we just seem to meet all the time. But Vettel once more comes down our inside now into turn 3. I think this is, we're going to brake early, then they do the switchback line just like we did on Jenson Button in Australia. It's worked out a beautiful treat for us, so we go side by side with the German now into the right hand of the S section, and we'll just get it ahead as we aggressively go on the curb. But Grosjean's gone away from us, so very interesting to see Grosjean, just like in real life, doing really well in the Haas car at the moment at the Bahrain Grand Prix. But now onto the next lap, lap 4. Vettel goes down inside into the last corner. Again, we do the switchback line. We're loving these switchback moves on Sebastian Vettel and just all the AI cars in general, and we'll get it back up into that position. We can see a Williams there going to the pits very early indeed, but we're going to squeeze Vettel to the right hand side as he tries to overtake us with DRS. You can see Grosjean there darting away from us as we're losing quite a lot of time here, but we're doing our best to try and hold up Vettel, and yet again we tried the switchback move round the outside of the Ferrari this time, and we've got it once more. So we are probably pissing off Sebastian Vettel quite a lot here, to the point where Hulkenberg, I think that is going to try and overtake him and maybe even take me, but we outbrake both of them, and we're going to keep it up there in what will be 6th place at the moment, but we go on to 4th place as we've gone to lap 6. Vettel's made his pit stop now, but here comes the other Haas car, Gutierrez with DRS, and the 2 Force Indias will come through. We're in a Force India sandwich 3 wide into turn 1. What a sight to witness here on only the 2nd round of this season, but we'll just hold it through in 4th place. But we've lost the place to Haas, so it looks like the Haas cars, just like their real life counterparts, really working well here at Bahrain. Even Gutierrez doing the work. But on to lap 7, down the back straight, we're gaining on him with DRS this time. It should be a pretty easy move down the inside with DRS. We've got the momentum, lock up a little bit, but we're back up into 3rd place at the moment, but we've got to make a pit stop yet. And speaking of that pit stop, we're going to make it right now at the end of lap 7. So here we come into the pits for the medium wall tyre. Slow it down just about once again. We're getting pretty okay at that, you know, just judging the way the brake zone is. You just want to kind of really get it to the line, and then you can just afford to lock up, because obviously you're handing back the tyres, so there's no need to be cautious about ruining the tyres into the pit lane. So yeah, getting okay at that. Hopefully by the end of the season we're kind of near perfect, kind of getting it right bang on the line, because I still feel like I'm probably losing a few tenths here or there into the pit lane. But onto these medium wall tyres, which is a bit of an unknown quantity, to be honest. I didn't do too much work with these tyres in the practice session, so a bit of an unknown quantity. We've got yellow flags at the moment, and Sebastian Vettel is out of this Grand Prix, and we've got a virtual safety car activated now. But Sebastian Vettel out of the Grand Prix, so getting some poor luck, and just like real life, he DNFs. Of course, in real life, he DNF'd before the race even started, so he didn't even start. But yeah, kind of uncanny how he DNFs from this race as well. But after the virtual safety car ended, we just got ahead of Felipe Nasr there, which is quite good for us, because it means we get some clean air ahead of him up to Gutierrez. We can see there's quite a sizable gap to Gutierrez there before he makes his pit stop, and a bit of a gap to the cars ahead. So really, it's just about knuckling down now in the race and getting the kind of just the consistency going, and just trying our best to get the lap times in on the medium tyres. As I said, we didn't do too much work in practice with the medium tyres, so it was a bit of an unknown quantity. They felt pretty good actually to start off with, but slowly you could just tell that the kind of the grip levels weren't the same, you know, obviously compared to the softs and the super softs. And you can see there just in the background the Force India and the Sauber just not too far away from me. As we come on to lap 12, you can see Jenson Button, my teammate, out on the soft tyres, comes out ahead of me after his pit stop. He's only going to make one more stop, so he's on a 2-stop like me. And onto the very next lap, we just get ahead of this Williams car of Bottas, I think that is, or maybe Massa, but we just get ahead of him there. But you can see the gap to Button is quite sizable, so he's actually done the work there in the first stint. I believe he started on the medium tyres. He's basically doing the same strategy as me, but he started on the slower tyre to begin with, and I guess that was obviously the thing he can do, because he didn't get into Q3. So once again, my teammate Jenson kind of benefiting a little bit from not getting into Q3, which is a little bit frustrating for me, you know, to kind of be like, okay, so he wasn't faster than me in qualifying, and yet he's going to be on a better race strategy, it looks like, because Felipe Massa passes me. At this point, my medium tyres are really not working very well. We've got about maybe 4 laps to go, I would say, until our pit stop phase, but the tyres are going off pretty much now. They're not feeling too great. I mean, they're just not really gripping in like the soft tyres and super softs do. You can see we're getting a bit of DRS and tow off Massa, so that allows us to get ahead of Verstappen, surprisingly, who's down here behind us in 10th place. I believe he's doing a 3-stop, I think, with a super soft set in there somewhere. Obviously, he had that issue at the beginning of the race where he went behind us and by a few positions, but yeah, just frustrating middle stint, very frustrating middle stint. So I was really good. I was really happy to get off this tyre, get onto the soft tyre and see what we can do. Maybe, hopefully, catch up to Jensen. We've done a bit of an undercut because we'll pit about a lap earlier or maybe 2 laps earlier than Jensen will. So we'll get onto those yellow wall soft tyres. But yeah, mixed emotions in the middle of this race. It was quite an annoying one to see Jensen come out ahead of me after him being on the slower tyre at the start. But of course, we had that fight with Vettel. So in hindsight, maybe that's something I have to think about later on this season in the McLaren especially. Maybe I can't afford to have fights with the top cars if I get in their way. Maybe I just have to let them go and maybe just do my own race, because maybe that was the thing that hindered me. As we move on to lap 21, you can see Button's made his pit stop. He just comes out there, another set of soft tyres, and he's ahead of us again, and he's going to the end. I'm going to the end, so massively frustrating there to be behind Jensen in this manner. As we can move later on to the Grand Prix, we're behind Pascal Wehrlein now. You can see Jensen's just there on the bottom of your screen. Wehrlein going a little bit slower in this race. Obviously, he's in a slower car, so hopefully we'll be able to try and overtake him with DRS. We can't make a move into this corner straight away, but we get a good line on the left-hander, good grip. He's on soft tyres at the moment, going to the end right now. I think he's making a one-stop work, perhaps, but we make a good move down the inside there, and we're up, and now we can try and chase Jensen Button down, but we've only got a few laps left in this Grand Prix. We're in rich mix. We've got some rich mix to burn, but I'm kind of flicking through rich to standard on the straights, basically. We're on to lap 25 with 4 laps to go. Jensen's getting away from me, and now Felipe Massa and Max Verstappen are right behind me for company. You can see Max Verstappen pressuring Felipe Massa there, and at this point you can see I've gone down to lean mix as we enter this left-hander, because my thinking is there's just no point fighting them because my tyres will wear out even more than they are already worn. So I put down to lean mix. They've got DRS. Massa will come around on the right-hand side. Verstappen will also get a tow off Massa and go round my outside. I'm not going to put up much of a fight because, you know, I just don't want to wear my tyres out. And also my logic is hopefully, maybe, perhaps, maybe have a chance of Verstappen and Massa holding Button up when they go and overtake him. But as we move on to lap 29, I was hoping for that. It didn't happen. As you can see, there's actually quite a good gap to Button. My tyres are going off even more, you know, in hindsight, but it probably helped us to let them go, but in the end it didn't matter because they didn't hold up Button too much, and Button was quite a few seconds ahead of us. So we move on to the end of lap 29. It's I sound disappointed, but it's going to be our first point for McLaren, which I'm really happy with, because I was really, really frustrated with last race, in the first race of Australia, to not to get points there in our debut. So really fantastic to get our first point for McLaren, but Jensen once again has beaten us in the race. Just really annoying because we do have the pace over Jensen. I'm adamant that we are faster than him. We've beaten him twice in qualifying. We got into Q3 on softs in this race, remember, against a pretty competitive field, but we just didn't make the race strategy work. It looks like, strangely enough, I'm actually stronger in qualifying than I am in the race on this game so far, because in past games, 2015, 2014, I've always been stronger in the race than I qualify, but in this year's game, surprisingly, looks like it's the flip verse, so I'm going to have to work on that. Perhaps it was better to maybe go for the 3-stop, and maybe that's something I have to look at for the next round in round 3, going for the more low tyre wear management strategy instead of going for the recommended one, which is generally the more tyre wear management strategy, because you know, I've never been that great at managing my tyres ever since F1 2012, ever since they put in the tyre scaling, but I think that's something we have to kind of just think about for the next round. But we get 1 point at least for McLaren, so we got, as a team, we got 3 points there today. Lewis Hamilton wins the race, so he's got 2 wins in a row. Rosberg second place, and then Kimi Raikkonen goes up to the third. Verstappen making the 3-stop where you can see Grosjean, brilliant stuff for him in 5th place. That is flipping fantastic and very, very similar to what he did in real life, so that's quite weird as well, as I mentioned earlier before, with also Sebastian Vettel retiring. Kind of weird how that's worked out there, but okay day for us all round in the constructors. In the drivers, you can see I'm right behind Jensen, only 3 points behind, so I'm hoping within the next 3 rounds at least that I can overhaul Jensen by those 3 points and we can get back ahead. And obviously my team want me to get in the top 10 for the drivers. We haven't met that yet, so that's not going to be that objective met. And the constructors, we've moved down the order. Force India are now ahead of us, and Williams, but we're quite close. Force India and Haas have got quite a lot of points. Haas especially a lot of points, which is really, really, really surprising and worrying to see. So hopefully we can come back at them, because that was one of my objectives, that I hope that we could easily kind of overtake Haas in the order of the car runnings. But as we go on, you can see I'm still beating Jensen in the rivalry because of that qualifying pace we have, and also I get the fast lap compared to him in the race. It's just the fact that we can't kind kind of manage the tyres well enough to get ahead of him in the final position. And in the driver position with the team, obviously we get +1 for getting the kind of place that we needed, but -2 for the other objectives. Unfortunate there. But guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new here, then subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time for round 3. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I've been Aarava, and I will see you guys next time.